Hello everyone, in today's video, I'll be solving the October 1st, 2022 SAT Math section, Part 1, the No Calculator section. I'll go through each question step by step and provide detailed explanations so you can understand the concepts and strategies behind every solution. Let's dive in and get started. Before starting the test, it's crucial to read the directions and notes carefully. Understanding these can help us avoid mistakes and make sure we're following the guidelines correctly. Also, remember that there's a reference section with formulas that we can use whenever needed, so be sure to check there for any math formulas that could help during the test. Now, let's get started. We're given a diagram showing the relationship between body weight and foot length, and our task is to predict the weight of an infant with a foot length of 9 cm. To solve this, we'll simply use the diagram. Let's take a closer look at the graph. We'll locate 9 centimeters on the foot length axis and find where it aligns with body weight. Based on the diagram, we can see that 9 centimeters falls between 6 and 8 units on the weight scale, so we can estimate the weight to be approximately 7 units. In this next question, we're asked to convert sentences into a mathematical equation. To solve it, we'll carefully translate each part of the sentence into an algebraic expression. Let's break it down, one sentence at a time. Let's start by drawing the line segment AC with a length of 120 centimeters as given in the question. This will give us a clear visual to work from as we solve the problem. Once we have that, we can move on to the next steps. Point B lies on the line segment AC, with the lengths of segments AB and BC expressed in terms of x. According to the problem, the sum of AB and BC equals the total length of AC. Therefore, we can write the equation 120 equals to 5x plus 20 plus 6x subtract 10. The first equation tells us that x equals 4 regardless of y. We can directly substitute x equals 4 into the second equation. This substitution allows us to solve for y with ease and gives us the x-y pair that satisfies both equations. When we look at the linear function f of x equals 2x plus 6, we see that the coefficient of x, which is 2, represents the slope. Since 2 is greater than 0, the slope is positive, which means the function is indeed increasing. This tells us that as x increases, f of x also increases. Therefore, we can eliminate any options that would represent a decreasing or constant function, as they would have slopes of 0 or less than 0. If there's an additional option to consider, using the y-intercept can help us distinguish between different lines. In the function, the y-intercept is the constant term, which is 6. This means the line will cross the y-axis at the point 6. When we look at fx plus 2, it means that every y value of the original function fx is increased by 2. This results in a vertical shift of the entire graph of fx upward by 2 units without changing its shape or slope. To find the value of the function qx when x equals 6, we substitute 6 for x in the expression for qx. If there are any terms with negative numbers raised to even powers, it's important to remember that even powers of negative numbers yield positive results. So, negative 1 2. Power of 6 equals to 1. To solve equations where a fraction is set equal to 0, we only need to focus on the numerator, as only the numerator can make the fraction 0. In this problem, we can first cancel out the factor x4. This leaves us with the simpler equation x plus 2 equals 0, which we can solve to find x equals negative 2. In solving an equation from a graph where the answers are given in vertex form, we first need to identify the x and y coordinates of the vertex. To find the x-coordinate of the vertex, we can use the fact that it lies on the axis of symmetry of the parabola. This axis of symmetry is the midpoint of the root. By averaging the x values of the roots, we find the x-coordinate of the vertex. Once we have the x-coordinate, we can look at the graph to determine the corresponding y value at this point. Now, we only need to find the coefficient of the parentheses. To do this, we can use one of the parabola's roots. First, let's break the problem down. Triangle ABC is similar to triangle ADE, meaning all corresponding angles are equal and their sides are proportional. The key information provided is that B corresponds to D and C corresponds to E. Also, we're told that the measure of angle ABC equals 60 degrees. It directly tells us that the measure of angle ADE is 60 degrees as well. The question gives us this graph, which represents the relationship between the area of a rainforest, in square miles, and the predicted number of flowering plant species, P, in that area. We are asked to find the equation that best models this relationship. First, let's analyze the graph. We can see that the relationship is linear, which means the equation will have the form P equals m times A, where m is the constant of proportionality or slope. To find m, we'll use a point from the graph. Let's take the point 80, 30,000. This means that when the rainforest area is 80 square miles, the number of flowering plant species is 30,000. After identifying a point on the line, we can substitute its coordinates into the formula to easily calculate the slope, m, which comes out to be 375. The equation relates to variables n and p. Our goal is to rewrite this equation to express n in terms of p. To isolate n, we first subtract 3 from both sides, then switch position of p minus 3 and n. Finally, we get the answer c. For a system of linear equations to have no solution, the lines must be parallel. Parallel lines have the same slope but different y-intercepts. So here, we need the slopes to match but the constants, the y-intercepts, to differ. The slope of the first equation y equals 3x plus 5 is 3, and the slope of the second equation y equals x plus 8 is p, which is 3 as well. We'll then determine which of the provided options is equivalent to this expression. To simplify, square root x times in parentheses altogether square root x plus square root y distributes square root x to both terms inside the parentheses. This gives square root x times square root x plus square root x times square root y. So, the final expression is x plus square root x times y, which matches option A. Let's solve this problem about Joe memorizing vocabulary words over 3 days. He starts with 200 words on day 1 but remembers 10% fewer words each following day. How many words does Joe remember on day 3? On day 1, Joe remembers all 200 words. On day 2, he remembers 10% fewer than day 1. To find out how many he remembers, we need to calculate 10% of 200 and subtract it. So, Joe remembers 180 words on day 2. Now, Joe remembers 10% fewer words than on day 2. Again, calculate 10% of 180. So, on day 3, Joe remembers 162 words, which is option B. Next problem about the equation of a circle. Specifically, we'll figure out the radius of the circle given this equation. The compact formula of a circle is x minus a all squared plus y minus b all squared equals 2r squared, where point A, B represents the center of the circle and r is the radius. To rewrite our equation in this form, we'll complete the square for both x terms and y terms. First, let's quickly recall how to expand x minus a all squared, as it will be essential in solving this question. After expanding x minus a all squared, we observe that negative 2ax must match negative 16x. From this, it becomes clear that a equals 8. Additionally, a square evaluates to 64. From this, we define the x part of the circle's equation as x minus 8 all squared. Now, let's move to the y part of the circle. From yb all squared, we observe that minus 2 by must be equal to minus for y. From this, we can determine that b equals 2, and therefore b squared equals to 4. From this, we define the y part of the circle's equation as y minus 2 all squared. When we combine the x part and the y part, we get the complete equation of the circle. To find the radius of the circle, we also need to simplify the right-hand side of the equation by combining and manipulating the constants. This will give us the radius squared, from which we can easily determine the radius. 36 is r square, so r equals to 6. Let's carefully go over how to fill out the gridded response section of your answer sheet so you don't lose points on simple mistakes. To correctly fill out the gridded response section of your answer sheet, check out all examples to make sure you get it right every time. Finally, remember you can start writing your answer in any column as long as the numbers are in the correct order. Let us starting second part of the exam. To solve given equation, we need to consider the definition of absolute value. The absolute value equation implies two possible cases, 2x equals 64 or 2x equals negative 64. After solving two equations for either x equals 32 or x equals negative 32, we get. The problem asks for the positive value of x, so the answer is the positive value of x is 32. To solve the next question, here's the key idea: parallel lines always have the same slope. That means if another line is parallel to k, its slope must also be same. There is a given the equation of a line, y equals 7x plus 2, which is written in slope-intercept form. So, the slope of a line parallel to k is 7. Easy, right? Parallel lines keep their slopes identical no matter where they are on the graph. According to given equation, what is the value of 3p? We'll solve this step by step. First, let's isolate p by simplifying the equation. Subtract 4 from both sides. To get rid of the fraction, use the cross product. Multiply both sides of the equation by 3, divide both sides by 2 to solve for p. P equals 9. The question asks for 3p, so multiply p by 3, so final answer is 27. Question is a polynomial expansion problem to find the coefficient of x squared, which is d. Let's break this down. When solving these types of problems, you don't need to expand everything. Just focus on the terms that will result in x squared. Multiplying minus 6x by x and also 5 by 3x squared brings us x squared terms. Now, add the contributions to x squared. Minus 6x squared 15x squared equals 9x squared. This means the coefficient of x squared is d equals 9. There is a right triangle problem involving a boat's rope, which is 17 feet and mast is 15 feet. We'll determine the value of tangent x. Let's solve it. Of course, we need an opposite side to calculate tangent x. The key is to first calculate the opposite side using the Pythagorean theorem. Let's label the opposite side as a. Using the Pythagorean theorem, we write a squared plus 15 squared equals to 17 squared. Now, it's just simple math to solve for a. As a result, the opposite side is 8 feet. We can use the tangent formula. Substitute the values, 15 and 8. We will get the answer as 8 over 15. I hope you enjoyed this video covering the October 1st, 2022 SAT Math section from the USA. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more SAT math tips and solutions. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.